Hey, what's up? It's Joe. Welcome to my 5 Minute Friday for November 8th. So I'm currently in Austin, Texas. Been here for the last couple of days, catching up with some old friends. It's good to hang out with Juan Cicada and Paco Nathan for most of yesterday. And yeah, I'm about to fly out in a few hours back to Salt Lake City. But I was here for the MLOps World Conference. It's an awesome practitioner-focused conference. The thing I like about conferences like this is it's less focus on, I guess, the BS around, ML and AI, and more focus just on practical use cases and implementation. So there's not a lot of blustering like you find at some conferences where you feel like Skynet's just around the corner. But a lot of those types of conferences I'm talking about are more business people and pundits who I sometimes wonder how much they actually understand machine learning or AI versus just talking about it. But that's a rant for another day. But yeah, MLOps World Conference is awesome. Shout out to Dave Scharbach for the excellent conference. And hope to be back next year. And what's on my mind today? Quality of all things. Why quality? It's interesting. So I'm simultaneously writing this chapter on application data modeling and this other chapter on organizations and people, which I find are probably the more challenging aspects of anything you do in technology or data or pretty much any job, to be frank. But it's one of these things I keep coming back to, where I feel like with respect to data modeling, there's, I think, a tendency for people to overlook data modeling because it feels like it's a lot of work, a lot of upfront cost, and what typically happens is you end up getting into a mess, with spaghetti SQL, what I call query-driven modeling, which is random queries that I suppose are data models. These might exist as SQL queries stored somewhere. They might exist in a notebook. They might exist as DBT jobs. But this starts manifesting itself into an unreconcilable mess of data. And I'll give you an example. I should give you a couple examples. One instance is a friend was telling me about a migration that they were doing at the work, where they had to migrate a bunch of, I think it was maybe SSIS jobs to DBT, right? But it was a lift and shift operation. And when you look at the DAG on this, maybe a DBT job, there's perhaps dozens or hundreds of nodes in this DAG, and they all sort of meander around, right? And typically when in a DAG workflow, you sort of gravitate towards an end task. In this case, it sounds like they're think it more resemble a rectangle or something like that. So this is an anti-pattern you want to avoid. I think that by spending the time to actually understand what it is you're trying to do, and come up with a comprehensive data model, this actually means your quality improves. This improves your productivity. It improves the happiness of your end users, and it provides just a sense of pride in the work you're doing, right? I can't imagine you'd look at this type of a workflow and say, wow, I'm really proud of the work I've been doing. I'm really proud that we migrated this mess into another mess and didn't end up making it into something a bit more scalable and comprehensible by the users. But this is all too often. I think that we focus too much on arbitrary deadlines because we have to quote deliver, but this is often at the sake of doing things the right way. So and maybe the end user doesn't expect high quality, but I think you should take pride in the work you do, and also do everything you can to obviously increase the productivity of your team by having higher quality. Higher quality means fewer errors, fewer defects, which leads to less rework, right? So this is the essence of lean. And it's interesting because we have this whole data ops movement going on right now, and ML ops and so forth. But I feel like in a lot of ways the practices are missing the entire point. The entire point is to increase quality, right? Which again reduces defects, bottlenecks, errors, and so forth. But all too often we spend our time monitoring and not addressing root cause. In the case of data issues, I can tell you that overwhelmingly the root cause is a lack of a coherent and sound data model. If you feel free to challenge me on this, but I can point to countless workflows where this is true, and it's just a better understanding of your data reflected in a well-structured data model, an explainable data model, means that you're able to work with data faster, more productively, and everyone else around you can understand it, right? So this leads to, I guess just, well, think of the retention in jobs right now, right? People leave jobs and so forth, and move into new jobs. And so when you inherit a data model, say you're new on the job or whatever, would you rather have to sift through it and, indecipherable mess for 6 months, or would you rather understand, okay, so we model this in a Kimball fashion, according to the standard rules that Kimball laid out. These are the facts, these are the dimensions. This over here is a solely changing dimension, type 2, and so forth. I mean, I'd rather have that situation where, say, have a standard construct and understand how the data was modeled. That'll speed up, the workflows of everybody, right? I can see no downside to doing this, other than the fact that it might take, quote, a bit longer. But taking, quote, a bit longer to do things better means that you're moving faster at the end of the day. And it's the old adage from running where you move slow to move fast, right? You're not always gunning it, trying to sprint, especially when you're doing long distance running. You're more trying to focus on, running slower, which improves your endurance over time. And in much the same way, I feel this is, how we need to treat things like quality. A lot of this comes from this book called Peopleware, which was first written in 1987. And I'll just read you a couple of quotes here. The first one is, "Quality far beyond that required by the end user is a means to higher productivity." And this simply means what I said before, where, just because the end user may not expect high quality, there's actually what this book calls the flight from excellence, right? You should focus internally on quality because that's your job. You should take pride in your craftsmanship and build the best things you can. This does mean higher productivity for you and your team at the end of the day. Another quote here is, "Quality is free, but only to those who are willing to pay for it." I can't echo this enough. It's all too often, I think quality is sort of this baked in assumption that we're just going to do quality because, we're just going to produce it, right? But quality comes from having the time to think and act in a way that, is intentional. But all too often I find, say data modeling, for example, or even writing software applications, it's all about pushing things out as quickly as possible. And what do you think happens? You get crap, right? So take the time to do things right. I know it's maybe counterintuitive, especially in this day and age when we're, quote, doing things agile, and you rack up the tech debt and you'll say you'll pay it back later. But even with agile, the notion is, single units of workflow, incremental workflows, but you're producing things of high quality, right? So you don't have to go back and do rework. And I think, again, this misses we're missing the entire point. If we're trying to do agile, if we're trying to do, quote, ops, all these circle back to lean. And the essence of lean, again, is produce things of high quality, single piece workflow, small batches, actually no batches really, but incrementally improve things, right? And I think all too often we're just throwing things out because that's what we're supposed to do. But again, if you're a professional in this field, do it the right way. Take pride in your work, right? Because this is the types of habits you're going to take to your existing job and probably elsewhere. So, and I think people, the data world, I know, and the software world, it's depending on your locality, but it can be very small. If you work virtually, this won't be the last place you work. Word might get around about how awesome you are, or more to the point, how sloppy you are if you're not paying attention to quality. So it's a focus on quality. Can't believe I have to say this, but all too often, it's all about throwing things out because that's what you're incentivized to do. But again, higher quality means higher productivity and better satisfaction. So cool. Anyway, I am going to go to the conference for a bit, then hop my plane back to Salt Lake City. Next week, I will be in Pittsburgh. It's a Tuesday, so if you happen to be at Carnegie Mellon, feel free to hit me up. And then on Wednesday, the 13th of November, I am in New York City speaking at Data Galaxy's tech conference. That's going to be great. And then back in Utah for the rest of the week. And the following week, I'm going off to Amsterdam and speaking in Eindhoven. And then the following Monday, I think it's the 25th, I'll be in Paris at the Forward Data Conf. So anyway, yeah, I hope to see you somewhere around the world. And also thanks to everyone who tuned in to the final Monday morning data chat. It was awesome to see the response to that. I think that a lot of the comments were, it felt like an end of an era. I do agree. But you know, I think it's awesome. Like Matt and I spent a lot of time thinking about how to transition to podcasts. I'm glad we did it the way we did. We went out at the quote top. Didn't let it drag on, and we're off to bigger and better things. Matt's working on some cool stuff. I'm also working on a new company. May or might be related to the book. You'll find out at some point soon. But yeah, net positive. That's what we're doing. So also, just in case you don't know, not doing consulting anymore. So if you need consulting, happy to refer you to somebody. But I'm getting out of that game, at least for the time being. So just focusing on other stuff. So anyway, long-winded rant as always, go well over the 5-minute mark, but that's the nature of it. So anyway, hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.